Now it's time to hear the stories of Utes in their own words. This is Utes Insider presented by Pepsi. Here's your host, Mike Lageschulte.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Utes Insider. I'm Mike Lageschulte. Thanks for joining us. Well, it is postseason time for collegiate volleyball, and they will head to the bubble in Omaha, Nebraska, starting next week for the NCAA Tournament. Utah will play its first match against the winner of Pittsburgh, Long Island, on April 15th at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time in Omaha. They've had a great year. Utah goes in as the number 14 seed in the tournament, a 13-4 record, and one of their star players is junior setter Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres, who has been named honorable mention All Pac-12. What a great year for her. She led the Pac-12 in assists per set at 10.52. Also, she was the only setter in the top 10 for digs per set at 3.14. And Saige had a great year this year, but last year really was when she came on as a sophomore in 2019, named ABCA Honorable Mention All-America. She set the school record for assists in the season with 1,518, and she's continued that this year. And I think Beth Lanier, and Saige will talk about this, but I think Beth has really gained trust and confidence as she's moved into her junior year. They've turned over more control of the offense to Saige, and she's done a great job setting up Danny Drews and Kenzie, a couple All-Americans. Also, Maddie Robinson, named All Pac-12 Honorable Mention this year. There's a lot of star players around her, but Saige is the one who makes it go, and we look forward to talking to her. Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres coming up on Utes Insider in just a moment.
To hear more episodes of this show and other Utah athletics podcasts, search for them on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Now, back to more of Utes Insider presented by Pepsi.
And welcome back to the show. It's being brought to you today by University of Utah Health with 16 convenient neighborhood health centers. We have a game plan for your family's health. Visit uvuhealth.org today. Well, the Utah volleyball team has had a special season. They go into the tournament next week as the number 14 seed, a 13-4 record, prime for hopefully a big-time run in Omaha in the NCAA bubble, joined now by junior setter Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres, who was named honorable mention All Pac-12 this past week. Saige, thanks for hopping on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's so awesome to be able to be a guest.
Great to have you. You guys have had a great year. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but first off, Saige, it's been a trying year for everyone for so many different reasons, and everyone's story is a little bit different in terms of the things they've had to deal with, their struggles, and how they've gotten through it. Can you put into words what this past year has been like for you?
Well, Coach Beth talks about being relentlessly adaptable, and that's kind of the two words that we've been using to describe this whole season, really. And this whole year in itself has just been so different and so new, and just being able to navigate it has been such a challenge. But it's honestly such a blessing to be able to have the opportunity to play volleyball and be around our team, and even just have the opportunity to be able to compete, whether it's in the fall or the spring. It's just always such an amazing experience and opportunity to have. So it's been a lot. It's been a challenge at the least, but we're super grateful to be able to play and be on campus at least.
Yeah, you've had a season which we weren't sure how it was going to play out for a long time, and a lot of athletes I talked to, Saige, have kind of said the same thing. It's like, yes, it's been different. We haven't had fans or capacity crowds in the building like we could in past years, and even with some friends and family, that's helped, but it hasn't been the same. The schedule's been different. So many things have been different, but yet I think when you lose things, Saige, you gain appreciation for what you've had, and the fact that you're playing volleyball, the fact that you can go to postseason and have all these memories from this spring that we weren't sure was going to happen. Have you maybe had a little bit more of a basic sense of appreciation for just how special playing college volleyball is?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you said before, not having fans in the stands, that's been a huge challenge. We as a team have had to try and figure out how to create at least some type of energy that's even close to that the fans create on our own. And that's been a challenge. And just trying to adjust and get used to things that we're not typically used to, or environments that we're not typically used to playing in has been so different. But I'm super appreciative, and I know our team's super appreciative that we even have this chance to go to the tournament next week and to be able to compete with each other. And yeah, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, visiting with Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres, junior setter for the Utah volleyball team. You bring me to my next question about the energy and not having fans. I mean, we know how it is. There's nights during the year where you're up because you're playing a great team and it doesn't take much to get ready and get focused. But there's nights where you're a little tired, you're dragging a bit, and that crowd can help you out. Or if you have a lull in the match where you're not playing well, the crowd can get behind you and help you play better than you have been and sort of help you guys rally. You guys have had to foster that yourselves, whether it's at the start of a match or during. How has this team rallied and found that energy and found that emotion that you need to create in the absence of a crowd to get through this year?
Yeah, we have had to lean on each other a lot more than usual in that sense. We have some great leaders on our team. Danny and Kenzie are two super huge influences and leaders, and they have had to take on a lot of that responsibility. And the way that they play brings a lot of energy and a lot of excitement to those who are on the court. Zoe Weatherington, when she was out there before she got hurt, her swing and the amount of power she has is always exciting to watch and to be able to celebrate and cheer on. So we've kind of had to bring that energy from different places, and surprisingly, it's been from just the way that our teammates play and being able to celebrate them and kind of just be happy for the things that they do, which is something that we try to do in a regular season, but even more so when you don't have other people around to do it, you have to be the one to rally behind them and kind of create energy from that. So that's been a different experience in itself.
Sure has. Yeah. I see teams just at times struggle to find that energy and that drive when, again, the crowd's not there to help you out, and it's a different process than you're used to. Let's talk about your season, Saige. It's been a great year, 13-4. You're number 14 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's been a great year. Obviously, things have been different than it would have been had we played in the fall under normal conditions. But still, this is a season that counts for something. You got a chance to win a national championship and go to the Final Four. All those things are in play for you this next month. Let's talk about Danny first of all. I mean, to be named Player of the Year in the Pac-12 Conference, I mean, that is such a huge accomplishment. I mean, it's one of the premier leagues for volleyball year in, year out. To be named Player of the Year, we've watched you play. You've been a teammate of hers for a long time. What makes Danny so special?
Oh, everything about Danny is so special. I really am so lucky to have been able to play with her for the last 3 years of my career. She influences everyone in such a positive way. She's constantly looking for ways to be better, both as a teammate and as a person on and off the court. She'll do anything it takes, and I am emphasizing anything, in order to be the best version of herself, and in order to be the best at whatever it is that she chooses to do. She'll always be doing extra reps, extra workouts. She'll be listening to extra motivational podcasts, trying to get herself in the right headspace. She'll be listening to different lectures, reading different books, and she's just such an amazing person. I mean, not if volleyball wasn't even included, she would just be such an amazing person to be around. And she's a mentor to me. She's taught me a lot, both about myself as a player and a person. And I just am super, super thankful to have had the opportunity to be around her for so long. She's really special.
You gave me a few things that I hadn't heard about Danny before, in just terms of her outreach to get in touch with podcasts or the mental approach. My impression has been, and I've talked to her a few times, is she's focused. She understands it's important, but also understands it's important to have fun and not to take it too serious, and hit that fine line of focus, but yet let's not be tight. And it sounds like she has a lot of ways to, inform herself on how to hit that fine spot. Is that kind of how she is, where it just seems like she always seems to be in that right spot in terms of focus, and yet let's have some fun with this?
Yeah, if you know Danny, you know that she's just a goofy person. She likes to have fun. She likes to find different ways to get her energy out, and she has a lot of it. So she just likes to have a good time. But when it comes to being on the court, she knows how to find that balance of being a competitor, but also having a good time while she's doing it. And she will do it in practice. She will do it in games. Any chance she has to throw in a joke or two, she will not hesitate to do it. So she knows how to have fun and still be the best on the court all the time.
Let's talk about Kenzie Kerber, also named All Pac-12 with Danny Drews, and Malin Robinson, a great transfer from BYU. Those two have been such a big part of this team. Just talk about what Kenzie and Malin have brought to the Utes in this spring of 2021 season.
Yeah, Kenzie is also super fiery and super competitive and intense and loves to win. And she just brings that whole other aspect of focus and intensity that our team needs sometimes because, like I said, Danny is the one who likes to crack the jokes, but Kenzie is a nice one to balance her out. And she's such a powerhouse and she brings a lot of energy for us, which has been super helpful, especially this season. And she's a great leader. She is always open to having conversations to help people out. And she's super experienced and always brings that to the table for us, which is really nice. And Maddie Robinson is probably the hardest worker I've ever met. It's super great to be able to play with her this year. I've only seen her across the net when we play BYU, so it's nice to finally be on the same team as her. She's always been a great player. I've always thought she was a great player even when she was at BYU, and she is just so ultra focused all the time, loves volleyball, will do anything to be on the volleyball court. We'll always go in to get extra reps. Even if we have a 3-hour practice that day, she'll be in another gym practicing for 2 hours before that. And then she'll be lifting. Yeah, she goes hard. She loves volleyball. She loves to be around it. And that kind of attitude is infectious. And it really just helps our team become even hungrier to be more like Maddie is how I would describe it. And she's just so great on the court. She gets us to focus on what we're doing. Since we kind of lose focus sometimes, we have too much fun, but Maddie's the one that will just keep the boat going. You know, she knows what she wants to do and she will do whatever it takes to get it done. And she knows the goals that we have as a team this year. And she really, really wants us to get there. So she's been super awesome at helping steer the ship in a sense to get us to that point in the season. And we're here. So I know she's going to just keep on pushing and keep everyone around her on the same page. And I'm super, super happy to have Maddie on our team.
Visiting with Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres, junior setter for the Utah volleyball team. Saige, let's talk about your year. You've been outstanding in the Pac-12. You've led the conference in assists per set at 10.52. You're the only setter in the top 10 in digs per set in the conference. And again, I mean, the Pac-12 is one of the best leagues in the country. For you to have those numbers in this conference really speaks about your play. Grade yourself this year. I mean, you had a good year last year. You've been better this year. Talk about your progress and just how you grade your own play this past season.
Yeah, we had a super large break in the fall, which gave me an opportunity to work a lot individually, which is something that you don't always get as a college athlete. So that was really nice to just focus on myself for once, especially in a team sport, you know. But that gave me a huge opportunity to grow my game a little bit and to really just push my limits and see what I could truly do as a setter and kind of grow myself and my game from there mentally and physically. And my setting coach, Dan Coratan, really pushed me a lot in the fall to be better in all aspects of my life. And that helped me a ton. And this season was different. But our team was so full of just monsters and every single person on the court is just so good. And that just makes my job even easier, you know? So, it really is because of them that I get as many assists as I do. And, it's all the girls around me. So I just am super thankful for them and they make me look good at the end of the day, which I appreciate.
Well, you made them look pretty good as well. I think it goes both ways, Saige.
Yeah. We'll say that.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah.
Very good. You mentioned Dan and kind of the things he maybe encourage you to do off the court. I think so many people this past year, that's been their stories. You've gotten away from work. You've gotten away from your normal flow of activities, and it's been a time for self-reflection and really to kind of think about some things that maybe you lost touch of and just find ways to improve yourself during this time where it has been different. If you don't mind, can you share some things that you've worked on and done to help you develop as a person away from volleyball this past year?
Yeah. So like I was talking about with Danny, she introduced me to a lot of different podcasts. We all as a team for the most part, listen to Justin Sue's podcast about how to it's called Increase Your Impact. And he gives little tidbits of advice every day about how to be mentally stronger and how to compete at a high level. And so that helped me a lot when I was back home, just to at least stay engaged somewhat mentally with the competitive side of volleyball while I was away from it. And I also did a lot of journaling. And I also did a lot of goal setting, which helped me a ton this off season and has helped me a ton this season. Because I just am the type of person where I like to see the goals that I'm trying to reach. It makes me feel like they're more attainable. And Dan helped me out with that. And so every week we would set 3 different goals, and there were goals that are, well, one goal would be a goal that, you can't really measure, but the other 2 had to be measurable. And at the end of the week, we would grade the 2 measurable ones and move the goal that couldn't be graded to an end of the season goal, because we were going to grade it at the end of the season. And so that's been super helpful for me to kind of just see the things that I'm still working towards and the things that I've accomplished, because being on a team sport, it's hard to really keep track of the things that you've accomplished and to give yourself that kind of credit. And I'm not the type of person to give myself a lot of credit. So to be able to visually see myself accomplishing things, that meant a lot to me. That helped me with my confidence. That helped me with my leadership. And that's one of the tools that I'm super grateful for discovering in this off season. So I'm going to continue to do that.
That's great stuff. Anytime you can find a way to grow mentally, emotionally, that's stuff that translates not only to your sport, but also life down the road. And it sounds like you've had a good year to develop in those areas. Saige, let's talk about your background. You grew up in Hawaii, and it's a great place to live, great place to visit. But I know some people who live there think at some point it's nice to get off the island and go someplace else and just see a different part of the world. And some, just really look for that opportunity to go somewhere else for college or wherever. So for you, just talk about the process of, growing up in Hawaii and making the decision to go to Utah to play collegiate volleyball.
Yeah. I grew up in Hawaii. I was born and raised in Waimanalo, which is on the east side of Oahu. I've been there for all 17 years of my life before I left for college.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to grow up. I love home, but it'll always be home. And so I wouldn't say I got tired of it, but I was ready for a change, and I refused to stay home. I wanted to go and be on my own and force myself to grow up in a sense and just try something new. And when Coach Beth offered me a chance to come out here, I was super, super stoked. I visited Utah on my official, and just the environment felt kind of like home, but not too much to where I was sick of it, and not too little where I didn't want to go and experience it. So it was just a super cool opportunity to be able to come out here. Utah's a great place. I love the outdoor things that you can do out here. I got a dog. We go hiking all the time. Yeah, it's just been super nice. The weather's different though, which isn't a bad change, but it's definitely not 80 degrees all the time, which I've had to get used to.
Right.
Yeah, my closet has definitely expanded since I've been here.
Yeah. You know what? There are places where the winters are colder than here. I like the 4 seasons, but they're not as drastic as some other places. But it is different. And I mean, from where you grew up to here, you certainly did have to expand your wardrobe to get through the winter months. But it's a great place to live. And, talk about Coach Beth. I mean, 600 career wins, 31 years. She's built this program from a program that won 1 match the year before she got here. They got to the NCAAs by 1998 and then really had to rebuild it again when they went to the Pac-12. You were a part of that. You were a part of that wave of players who came in, the past few years that have helped elevate this program to where it's now a top 15, top 10 program. Just talk about what it was about Beth and about the Utah program that attracted you and made you say, hey, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, Beth has a vision for this program. She has a vision for us as a team, but she also has a vision for each player individually. And I think that's super special. She is determined to help us reach our goals. And she leaves it up to us every season to draw out our roadmap, is what she calls it. And it's a roadmap because at the end of the year we go. So for this year, our roadmap was to Omaha because that's where the championship tournament is this year. And so she leaves it up to us as a team and as captains to decide what kind of goals we want to set for the season. And after we set those goals, she pushes us to reach every single one of them. And when we don't reach a goal, she doesn't get frustrated or upset. She uses that as motivation for us to be better and kind of to push us harder in the gym, which is awesome. And I love Coach Beth. I, as a freshman, didn't quite know what I was getting myself into because the recruiting process is a little different. They say a lot of nice things to you,
Yes.
And then you get here and you're like, ooh, this is not what I expected.
That's how it works in every sport. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So coming out here my freshman year, I was like, oh, this is a shocker. This is a little scary and intimidating, but it's so awesome to be a part of. I just have this huge smile on my face talking about it because it's just such an awesome program to be a part of. Beth really wants the best for us. She will do anything she can for us to just be happy and enjoy ourselves, and she talks about playing with joy, and that's truly what she wants for us. She wants us to enjoy every single part of the process, and she's awesome. So I'm super grateful for her.
Yeah, she's a great coach. It's tough as coaches. You got to get them in your program first. That's the first thing you need to do during recruiting. But then you've got to push them to go places where they can't take themselves.
Yeah.
And that process can be tough, where you got to get them here and then, okay, now it's time to get down to business. And it can be a little bit of a rough transition. But you talk about Beth's personal approach. I talked to her this winter about her book and how when a program grew in the Pac-12 era, she lost touch with her players. She felt like, there are so many people around the program, support staff, coaches, recruiting was different. She goes, I lost touch with my players, and really changed how she went about things. And she describes it in her book, but it sounds like in recent years, she's gotten back to where she was when she started, which was really being a hands-on coach with the players, connecting with the players, and she's really enjoyed getting back to that. And it sounds like you've experienced that, enjoyed it as well with Beth. It's been just a great run for you in this program. As we said, you guys are a number 14 seed, 13-4 records. We go to NCAA's next week. Before I ask you about your run, as a setter, you're kind of like a quarterback. You're kind of like a point guard, or even in business, there's people you connect with more than others in the workplace. And for you, are there any players in particular, or maybe a couple players where you're like, you know what, I'm just in sync with them a little bit more than some others, where I just can look at them and I know exactly what we're going to do, what we need to do? Do you have those players on this team that you work with?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Danny and I have that connection to the T. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it developed. It kind of just happens.
Yeah.
You can't really plan on it. And she is just someone that I connect so well with. In the middle of a match, I can just look at her and she's looking at me, like staring at me, waiting for me to look at her. And we don't say anything to each other. We don't clap our hands. We don't give each other a thumbs up before the play happens, but we just look at each other and it's like she's reading my mind, and it's like she can read mine. And it's just such a cool relationship to have with the player. I've never experienced it until this year, because last year was kind of just learning how to run the offense on my own, and the coaches were helping me out a lot during matches, but this year they kind of have given me a lot of freedom to run the offense the way that I want to run it. And Danny has just been super supportive and always on the same page, and will always communicate with me after games. And it's just so awesome to be able to experience that kind of relationship with a player. I was a outside hitter in high school.
Really?
And so, yeah.
I didn't know that. So, Iolani, you were an outside hitter, not a setter.
Yeah, I was an All-American outside in high school, and that was super different. I would set in club, which was only about 5-ish months out of the year.
Okay.
But during my school season, I was an outside. And so coming into college, I had a lot to learn. And so Danny's just been super, super awesome. And I've never been able to experience that in high school. So being able to experience it now is just so amazing.
Wow. I know Danny's a dog lover too, so you guys have that in common.
Yeah, we go hiking all the time with the dogs.
That's great. Yeah, I see her walking around campus with her dog in her early years here at Utah, and that was always kind of fun. Today's show being brought to you by Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi and some friends. Again, the game Pepsi, proud partner of Utah Athletics. Wrapping things up with setter Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres with the Utah volleyball team. All right, Saige, here we go. Your first match coming up on April 15th in Omaha, Nebraska against Pittsburgh or Long Island. You guys get a bye in the first round of NCAAs. It's been a great year, but again, everyone knows how it is. In the end, you're judged somewhat by how you finish in this tournament, and whether you make Sweet 16 or get to the Final Four, that's going to be a big part of a year. How far can this Utah team go in the tournament coming up in the next few weeks?
We like to say we'll take things one game at a time, but you know me, I like to plan ahead. So I'm planning on going all the way, and it's a whole mindset thing for us. We play the winner of Long Island and Pitt. Yep. That'll be our first game in the second round. So we're super, super stoked. We're locked in. This whole week of practice, we've been pushing each other. Probably the hardest we've gone all season, and it's just such a great environment to be in. It's so competitive. I know we want to win bad. We will do anything that we can to get to that final game. So we're just pushing for it. We plan on going all the way. We plan on doing whatever it takes, and we'll be there and we'll be prepared.
Well, you guys have had a great year, ranked top 10 at times, and in terms of COVID-19, a few stops because of the virus, but for the most part, your season's been pretty good in terms of flow. Do you feel like you guys are in a good spot right now in terms of your rhythm and just being where you need to be at that prime spot to make a postseason run?
Yeah, and our coaches have also been super good about are super helpful about making sure that we're listening to our bodies. And we've kind of squished a lot of games into the last 4 months. Yeah. And so it's not typically what we do, and people's bodies are feeling it. I know there's a couple people on our team who are going through it right now. And our coaches have been awesome about giving us some lighter practices, giving us some days off, especially going into next week. We had yesterday off, which was super awesome, but we weren't allowed to do anything, which was also really nice to hear from them, just because some people, get a little antsy, especially at a time like this. So they've really been helpful about that. I feel like we've been more locked in now than we've ever been. This is the last push for us. So we are where we need to be right now, mentally and physically, and we're just going to keep on going until we can.
Well, it seems like all the pieces are there for a great run. You've got the team. I mean, this group was in the Sweet 16 a few years ago. Before we had the stoppage, you got a veteran coach. You've got talent. It seems to be a cohesive group. It seems like it's just all there for you guys to have a chance to make a run the next few weeks and maybe get to Final Four, maybe to the Elite Eight. It would be tremendous to get to either one of those places. Saige, good luck to you and the Utes, and thanks for hopping on the podcast with us.
Thank you so much for having me again.
All right, that's Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres, junior setter for the Utah volleyball team. Back to wrap things up in just a moment.
For more on Utah athletics, including up-to-date schedules and ticket information, log on to utahutes.com. Now back to more of Utes Insider presented by Pepsi.
And my thanks once again to Saige Ka'aha'aina-Torres of the Utah volleyball team for dropping by the show. That's one of the best parts about working in collegiate athletics is talking to student athletes away from competition, learning their background story, learning how they got into their sport, finding out what makes them tick and how they have pushed themselves mentally and athletically. And visiting with Saige, it was fun to find out about her use of podcasts and some other things to help her grow mentally during this COVID-19 shutdown, and also her goal-setting program with Dan Corrigan, her setting coach, where they set 3 goals every week. 1, you can't measure. 2, you can. And using it as a way to push herself through the season to get better. She's had a great career already, but still a bright future ahead for Saige and the Utah volleyball program. We wish them all the best in the NCAA tournament coming up this week. They'll again take on the winner of Pittsburgh, Long Island on Thursday, 8:30 p.m. in Omaha, Nebraska. And we hope the Utes have a great run in the NCAA tournament. That will do it for our show today. Coming up in the next few weeks, some great shows ahead. Kyle Whittingham will drop by the show next week to talk about Utah spring football. Also, Frederick Landstedt that the national champion ski team will drop by in a few weeks. Should be a lot of fun as we work through the month of April. That will do it for us. For Mike Gillen on the technical side, I'm Mike Lageschulte. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Utes Insider presented by Pepsi. To hear more episodes of this show and other Utah athletics podcasts, search for them on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.